Deadlock is an extremely complex game, but it's not as hard to get into as people make it seem, if you ignore the fluff as a new player. The first step, get access to the game. To do this, someone needs to invite you. You don't know anyone with the game? Join my Discord. Link in the description and ask. I've made a dedicated channel for this. You'll find it. If you don't want to join my Discord, there's also threads on the Reddit where you can get an invite. In this video, I'm going to focus on the things that matter to you as a new player the most so you can enjoy the game as fast as possible. If I say not to worry about something, it just means you'll learn as you play. No need to focus on it as a new player. I've got plenty of other guides coming up for more advanced players as you learn the game. Deadlock is a third-person MOBA shooter. I know, a bit of a long title. It's a very unique game, but basically you shoot your gun, use your abilities, generate souls, and buy items. There is no mana in this game, so your abilities are all cooldown based, with a few exceptions being based on some criteria like damage dealt or damage received. Your ultimate goal is to kill the enemy patron, which wins you the game. Movement is a core part of this game, and I believe this game has one of the best movement systems out there currently. And I'll cover the very basics, but there's a lot to this system, so please explore it on your own. When moving around outside of combat, you have bonus sprint speed. This goes away when you take or deal damage. Stamina is where it gets interesting. Your options with stamina are doing an air dash, a regular dash, a dash jump, a wall jump, or a down dash. Is that the scientific term? I guess we'll go with down dash for now. Now, as a new player, probably don't use the down dash option. It's extremely rarely useful. For now, just focus on learning the dash jump. Now, this is going to be kind of your go-to movement mechanic moving around the map. It's fairly easy to execute. It's mostly just timing based, and it's going to be your bread and butter. Once you get familiar with the dash jump, get familiar with air dashes. Air dashes are incredibly important once you will get to a higher level, but at first, don't worry too much about it. My main piece of advice when it comes to stamina is don't spam it mindlessly. It is a resource that you need to use for purposes. Have fun with it, get creative. That's the whole point of Deadlock, but try to think about it. There are also additional movement mechanics to help traverse the map. You have the zipline, which is the primary method to traverse the map in Deadlock, as there are no TP scrolls. It's basically an I want to move faster button. I recommend you use the zipline any chance that you get. If a zipline is between you and another point on the map, you should always use it. Now, one thing that a lot of people don't know is if you let go of the zipline with control, you keep more momentum, or whatever your crouch key is bound to. So don't jump off the zipline, crouch off the zipline. This just allows you to get propelled further. There are also jump pads that are scattered across the map to help you rotate around. Always use them if you can get them as well. However, be careful. If you get shot while taking a jump pad or as you get on the zipline, you will get stunned and take significant damage. The teleporters are extremely underused even for experienced players. Learn their locations and get into the habit of going to them. You'll thank me later. Don't overthink it for now, though. If you're not using the teleporters, it's not a big deal. Just try to learn where they are on the map. Now that we've covered the very, very basics of how to move around and use your character, let's get to hero selection. How do you select which hero to pick? Now, a lot of people kind of overcomplicate this, and they'll be like, oh, you need to know the correct character for you, their base stats, look at their lore, look at their scaling, their height, etc. At the end of the day, just pick whatever hero looks cool. Don't overthink it. Some heroes are more kind of new player friendly than others. Heroes that are very simple in their kits, like Abrams or Moen Krill, for example, or even McGinnis, can be very new player friendly. Whereas heroes that are very complicated in their kits, for example, like Pocket or Mina, are not so new player friendly, but don't really concern yourself too much with that. Just pick a hero that you enjoy, because that's really going to be the main thing. So try a bunch of heroes and stick with the ones that you like playing the best. Now, heroes typically excel at a specific playstyle, but you can kind of adapt to how you want to play them because of the flexibility of the item system. Now, there's always going to be a meta on your hero, but don't really concern yourself too much with the meta or the concept of roles for now. You'll learn all about that later. Just know that Deadlock, compared to other MOBAs, doesn't have traditional roles, so you're not going to be queuing as a mid laner or a side laner or a carrier or anything. Everyone just kind of queues as whatever heroes they want, so don't worry too much about kind of like your role in the game. Just play your hero and have fun. Now you've selected your hero, you know how to move around the map roughly, you're in the game, you're zipping down the lane and wait. How do lanes work exactly? What's the difference between Deadlock and other MOBAs, or just how does that work if you've never played a MOBA? So the first 8 to 10 minutes of the game are called the laning stage, and your main concern during that period is to get souls. In order to do that, you need to kill the troopers and kill the enemy heroes. There's also other things that give you souls, for example, objectives and boxes. We'll talk about that. When you kill a trooper, a soul spawns in the air that you need to shoot to secure. Your enemies can deny it from you if you aren't fast enough, so they can also shoot it. Similarly, you can shoot the enemy's souls when they come out of the troopers and deny them the souls. There's also another part of the soul that spawns on the ground that you need to grab. You just need to be near it and it'll automatically come to you. The healing trooper, seen here, drops a med pack when killed, which heals you and nearby teammates. Best piece of advice I have for you, be aggressive. Do not play scared. It'll slow down your learning tremendously. A lot of new players kind of like are gonna play very scared or try to, especially if you're watching a guide, you might wanna try to play optimally, make mistakes. It's gonna teach you the game way faster than if you just try to play super optimal right from the get-go. As a rule of thumb, you always wanna push the wave into the enemy tower. It's just a good rule of thumb to learn, you know, try to push the wave, be aggressive. It's not like other MOBAs where you might wanna be more passive with the wave. Pushing the wave is generally rewarded in Deadlock. During downtime, don't forget to do boxes. There's kind of a bunch of boxes that spawn at 2 minutes on the map, and you'll see them. They're just kind of like these brown looking crates, and they can make a huge difference, right? The souls that you get from these really add up as you go through the game. So anytime you're in between waves, you don't know what to do, hit a few boxes. It'll give you some extra souls. There's also golden statues that are near these boxes, which give you permanent buffs instead of souls. Don't worry too much about those. Just understand that, you know, they're good to get because they make you stronger through the game. Oh, also, by the way, you can parry the Guardian. So kind of an interesting mechanic. You'll learn about it as you improve, but just know that you can parry the Guardian. As you're getting souls, you'll be wondering what to buy. My advice for now is don't worry about it. You'll learn as you go. Just follow a popular build in-game, right? If you go in-game, you'll see, if you go in the build section, you'll see that there's kind of like the most popular builds for a hero. Just pick whichever one, you know, appeals to you from the name or the description or whatever, and just buy the items roughly in order of the build, right? Now, if you're really not sure and you want some guidance, check out a link in the description below that I have, which is a website that I own, which is called deadlockmeta.com, in which I recommend builds per hero and also have a tier list, but really don't overthink it. Just follow a build that's, you know, decent and you'll be fine. One thing that is important to understand about the item system is the way slots work in this game. When you start with 9 item slots currently. It's been changed in the past a few times, so maybe it'll be changed by the time you watch this video, but it's 9 item slots and you unlock 3 additional slots as the game progresses, which allows you to buy more items. Killing a walker grants a slot. We'll get to the walkers later, but just know that there are 3 walkers, and for each one you kill, you get an additional slot to buy more items. Now let's talk about the timers and objectives. At 2 minutes, in some lanes, a small jungle camp, sometimes called the tier 1 camp, also spawns. You can always see the camps on the minimap. Farming this camp as fast as possible is highly beneficial as it gives you extra souls compared to your opponent if they don't have one. At 5 minutes, the bridge buffs spawn, 1 on each side. You can use the rope or the jump pads to get there. To claim the buff, you need to perform a heavy melee on it. There are 4 buffs: movement, vitality, spirit, and weapon. I won't go into every buff's details, but they're pretty intuitive. They last 160 seconds. Basically, they do what the name entails. Movement makes you move better, vitality gives you more health, spirit gives you more spirit, and gun makes your gun kind of do more damage, basically. These buffs spawn every 5 minutes from then on, so it spawns at 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 15 minutes, 20 minutes, and so forth. Now at 6 minutes, the medium jungle camps, also known as tier 2 camps, spawn. Tier 2 camps are still relatively easy to clear. Most heroes should be able to do them pretty efficiently. When it comes to tier 3 camps, they are the hardest to clear. However, there are still some heroes that can clear them pretty efficiently the moment they spawn, not a ton. As you play, you're going to learn which heroes can clear them when they spawn, which heroes can clear them later, so don't worry too much about it for now. The more important thing that spawns at 8 minutes, though, are the sinner sacrifices. These are slot machine looking things that you punch to get souls. Every time you hit them, they hurt you. They're not thrilled that you're punching them. So you should always heavy melee them, as it takes less hit than using light melees. Before the final hit, the lights at the top will flash. You want to time your heavy melee, so you start it when there are 3 lights that are remaining to be lit. If you time your heavy melee correctly, you will be rewarded with 4 golden statue buffs, which are permanent buffs that your character keeps throughout the game. We talked about these earlier. The golden statues drop them, but the sinner sacrifices also give you to them if you hit what I call the jackpot, which is you time your heavy melee correctly. Now, sinner sacrifices are extremely important, and you should always farm them when you get a chance, as soon as they spawn, ideally. So right at 8 minutes. They give a ton of souls, and the permanent buffs are huge. Ideally, you want to steal the enemy's sinner sacrifice, or farm your own if you can't steal theirs. Doesn't really matter too much. Keep in mind that anytime you farm the jungle, you do get unsecured souls. If you died with unsecured souls, you drop them and the enemy can get them. Make sure to spend your souls often so you don't give them free souls. At 10 minutes, the urn and mid boss spawn. You're now officially in what I call the mid game. A lot of players tend to overcomplicate this stage of the game, and to be fair, it is pretty confusing if you don't know what to do. As a new player, just focus on a few things. Number one, always push the trooper waves as your first priority. Push the trooper waves as much as you can everywhere on the map. If you can push one wave, push it. If you can go even another wave, do that. That's really like the game at its core. It'll give you freedom. It'll allow you to do other things. When you want to fight with an advantage. Okay, so when you're taking a fight, try to ask yourself, do I have any kind of advantage on this guy that I'm fighting? Look at their souls. Do I have more souls than them? Am I in a 2 versus 1 fight? Are we in a 4 versus 3? Just fight with some sort of advantage, right? Avoid staying in the same lane for the whole game unless your goal is to just farm. So some heroes are kind of happy with that, but most heroes should move around the map, and it'll also teach you a lot more about the game. I know it's a little bit counterintuitive because I said to push waves, but you want to push a wave and then move around the map and try to do something. The mid boss that just spawned is essentially the final boss of the map, similar to Dota's Roshan or League's Baron. When you defeat him, the Rejuvenator drops. In order to secure it, you need to heavy melee it. Each heavy melee gives you 1 Rejuvenator buff. You can heavy melee it 3 times. Each Rejuve buff acts as an extra life for anyone who dies on your team. When someone dies, they use 1 buff and respawn at the location of their death after a few seconds. Player can only benefit from the extra life once, so if you died and you die again, you won't use another Rejuve to respawn again. The Rejuve buffs can be split amongst both teams. So for example, if one team gets 2 hits and the other team gets 1 hit, the other team will have 1 Rejuve and the team that got 2 hits will have 2 Rejuves. And this will happen somewhat infrequently, but you'll probably see it. Just because mid-boss spawns at 10 minutes doesn't mean you should do it, but past 15 to 20 minutes, if you win a big team fight, you should usually consider mid-boss as an option. It's basically a way to cement your lead and push the game forward. Now keep in mind the Rejuvenator buff lasts 4 minutes once you get it, so you don't need to do something right away after you got it. Now as for the urn, the other thing that spawns at 10 minutes, it's an urn of souls that needs to be carried from one side of the map to the other, similar to a capture the flag mechanic from other games. While you're carrying the urn, you are silenced and cannot use your weapons, abilities, or items, but you can use stamina and you can melee. You also cannot use zip lines or teleporters. When you pick it up, it highlights the deposit area on the map. There are 3 possible deposit areas. One on their side of the map, which means your team is winning. It's neutral, so in the middle of the map, well, on one side, but kind of like in the middle axis, so to speak, which means that the game is close or even, or it can be on your side of the map, which means that your team is losing. These different scenarios are highlighted by candles around the urn before you pick it up. The urn serves as one of the game's comeback mechanics, and it's one of the primary objectives in the mid game, though your Archon lobbies will very much pretend like the urn is not real. The main thing I want you to understand is that the urn is worth a lot of souls, and getting it is massive for your team no matter the situation. If you're winning, if you're losing, if the game's even, if you can do the urn realistically, you should. Right? You should not go 5 minutes without touching the urn. A lot of people like to pretend like the urn is allergic, but please consider doing the urn. Even if it fails, at least it'll teach you when is a good urn. Generally, when a few people on their team are dead, it's a good time to consider running the urn. Or if all the waves are pushed up, you can also consider running the urn, but just try doing it. It's worth a lot of souls, and it's very, very rewarding if you do get it. Now, walkers, which we mentioned earlier, as the primary way to get extra slots for your items, what they are is the second line of defense to the enemy base. So they're right after the guardians that you had to kill in the laning stage. After that, there's kind of the big walkers. They have 2 main attacks you should be concerned about: the stomps and fireballs. Now, when you get within the walker's inner circles, it'll stomp. So you'll see there's kind of like 2 circles around the walker. There's the inner circle and the outer circle. If you're within the inner circle, it will stomp. If you're within the outer circle, it'll use fireball, generally speaking. Stomp stuns anyone in the area and it does massive damage. Like, you really do not want to be hit by the stomp. Like, it will kill you if it hits, or it'll, like, you know, damage you very, very heavily. Step out of the inner circle if you see it stomping. You can very easily dodge it. Also, if you have any ability that allows you to dodge things, you can also dodge it. The fireballs do a lot of damage over time. You want to make sure to move around and don't stand in them. So when you see it shooting fireballs, try to move to somewhere else within the outer circle. Also, walkers are really hard to kill early, so don't try to kill them too much before 13 or 14 minutes, right? You probably don't want to force the walker really early. There are situations where it's fine, but just keep in mind early, they're pretty hard to kill. When you kill one walker, the other walkers get slightly more health. Each walker gives you a flex slot and gives you a bunch of souls, aka money. They're a great way to try to push your lead. Dying for a walker early on is almost always worth it. Don't be too afraid. Now, I talked about this in another video. If you're losing like 2 to 3 people for a walker, it's not usually worth it, but 1 person for a walker is almost always worth it from a money perspective. So don't be too afraid. If the walker's really hurt, you can go die for it, but also don't force it, right? Just experiment with it. Don't worry about it too much. Just there are good objectives to get. Try your best to get them. So when it comes to ending the game, the first thing that I want to say is just make sure that you get mid-boss before you go try to end the game, especially with the new base. Now, of course, you're a new player, so you wouldn't know, but the base is fairly difficult to push into, especially if you don't have a significant advantage. So you definitely want to have an advantage in the, tens of thousands of souls if possible, as well as the rejuvenator from the mid-boss to go into the base. And then what you're going to want to know is that you first need to destroy the shrines in order to be able to hit the patron. So there are 2 shrines in the base, one on the left side and one on the right side. And once you destroy both shrines, you can then shoot the patron. Now the shrines have an attack in which the animation is kind of like a circle, and then it centers on the shrine, and then it explodes. And that attack will curse you, which means that you can't use your abilities or items, and it will do significant damage to you. So when you see the animation and when the circle starts to become smaller, make sure you back up and don't get hit by that attack. It's very important you dodge this because it will hurt. Now, once you've killed both shrines, and I heavily recommend that you melee them as well as shooting, unless you're a full gun hero. Meleeing is, speeds up the process a lot, but up to you. And then once you've killed both shrines, you're going to want to shoot the patron, which it has 2 phases. For the first phase of the patron, you don't need to be inside what I would call the ritual circle, which is the big circle around the patron. You don't need to be in that circle to shoot the patron for the first phase. Now, when its health bar gets to half HP after you kill the first phase, it's going to transform. Transformation takes about 10 seconds. Once it gets to the second phase, you need to be in the ritual circle in order to deal damage. And similarly to the shrines, at that point, it has an attack, which it has a big circle that it expands, and that circle also does massive damage and curses you. So when you see that circle expanding, be very careful. You want to dodge that attack. It's going to hurt a lot. So just step out of the circle and then step back in right after. Now, if there are defenders nearby, they give the structure resistance. And if there's 2 defenders nearby, it's an invulnerable. Okay, nearby means in the circle. So you have to fight the enemy team first in order to end the game. You can't just ignore them and shoot the patron. You have to usually kill them. Now, if there's only 1 enemy, you can usually ignore him and try to kill the patron. But if there's 2 or more, you need to fight them. So that's really the main thing I want you to keep in mind. That's about it. There's going to be many more guides that are going to be more advanced. So if you want to follow me to help you on your journey to improving at Deadlock and learning this incredible game, drop a subscribe and let me know. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. I really appreciate it. The new patch is a blast, and I hope you guys get to experience Deadlock just like I've experienced Deadlock. And I hope you guys have a wonderful day.